Good morning, everybody. I hope you guys had a really wonderful night's sleep and you got some rest. According to my phone, I didn't get a good night's sleep, but oh well, I feel pretty good. Well, there it is. Okay, um, we're gonna get started in this because as I got off last, they were just starting raid, and I was I was so tired I just couldn't. And plus another friend of mine was going live and I wanted to jump in and support her too. So but this morning what we're gonna do is we're gonna go over and recap what went on last night. So we're gonna watch um let me get back to my screen. But we're gonna watch Battlefield this morning. Um Ashley Battlefield this morning on the Drop Dead Serious podcast as she recaps what all went down last. So let's get to it. And if you're coming in, if you don't mind, and I'd appreciate it so very much, it would mean so much to me if you'd hit that like button, and if you like the content here, the subscribe button. I try to go live a few times a week. So, all right, let's get into this, guys.
Hey everybody, I'm Ashley Banfield and this is Drop Dead Serious, and holy shit is it late. It took until 4 o'clock in the morning to get this podcast out to you. Okay, well, I wanted to record this on Friday the 13th, but Friday the 13th rolled over into Saturday the 14th. It's now, like I said, 4 o'clock in the morning. And the reason that it rolled into the morning hours is because the activity in the Nancy Guthrie investigation went ballistic this evening. All evening long, reporters were following a SWAT action about 2 miles away from Nancy Guthrie's home, 1 mile away as the crow flies. And dozens of SWAT, FBI, Pima County Sheriff's vehicles piled into this neighborhood. And dozens of deputies and agents piled into this neighborhood. And you're going to see a lot of that in just a moment. And Brian Enton was right in the inside of the perimeter, like literally in the perimeter. He was the first one on the scene. And he's reporting from inside the driver's seat of his vehicle. And we thought that was going to be the most sort of dynamic action tonight. And it kept going well after midnight. Suddenly we were getting reports that two people were taken out of a house, a man and a woman, and that there was a third person arrested at a traffic stop. And so cameras were trained on a white Sprinter van at a traffic stop for a while. Then the scene seemed to change to a Culver restaurant parking lot. And this is what I had to stay up so late for tonight. I still can't tell you what it all means and what actually happened, but here's what I know just from the reporting and the pictures that are coming in from the scene. A man was being questioned in that parking lot, seated in the back passenger seat of a sheriff's vehicle. The sheriff's deputies were sort of blocking who the person was, but you could clearly see they were questioning somebody. And that's what we thought must have been the third person who was detained, at a traffic stop. And maybe it was a Culver, and maybe it wasn't that Sprinter van. And then it got crazier. The next thing we're learning is that there is what looks like maybe abandoned silver Range Rover. Certainly looks real dirty, like it's been there for a while. And it is parked in the Culver parking lot as well. And suddenly, agents are snapping lots of pictures of it, right? And people are trying to get pictures of them taking pictures, but we can't see inside the vehicle. And they are taking pictures all the way around the vehicle, and then they bring up two vehicles to sandwich either side of that silver Range Rover. And the next thing we see is tents going up to shield whatever it was they were looking at when they opened the back trunk of the silver SUV, of the Range Rover. And they held these, like privacy screens on either side so that reporters could not see whatever it was they were looking at, photographing or processing or taking out of the back of the silver Range Rover. Next thing we know, they're hooking it up and they're towing it away, pulling it up on a flatbed, taking it out of there. There are a lot of reports that have been flying around all over the place, including local TV stations saying that a man took his own life. We can't put that together yet with whether it was at a traffic stop, whether it was at this particular area, whether it even happened at all. But it has been a night. It's been a late one. So before all of that happened, I had a very busy compilation day, all recorded for you. And so I think you should hear about all the other batshit crazy stuff that happened in this investigation today, too. So here's how the day played out. Hi, everybody. I'm Ashley Banfield, and this is Drop Dead Serious, and it is day 13 in the Nancy Guthrie saga. Nancy has been now missing for almost 2 weeks. It's been a day, and I'll tell you what, I'm recording this right now. It is 11:23 p.m. on Friday the 13th. And as I speak, there is an active SWAT event happening about 2 miles away from Nancy Guthrie's home in Tucson, Arizona. It's dynamic, it's rainy, it's dark, there are no streetlights anywhere, but I can tell you this, starting about an hour and a half ago, so about 10 o'clock Eastern, suddenly, there was this rush of activity. SWAT vehicles and a mobile command center took off from the Pima County Sheriff's Department. We went through this the other night, right? We went through this. We saw the bomb squad, and we saw the SWAT vehicles taking off to an hour south of Tucson. They rammed the door of a guy and his mother-in-law and took him away and detained him and ultimately released him and believed he had a good alibi tonight. There is a very similar dynamic that's playing out, but it is only 2 miles away from Nancy's actual house. Brian Enton is everywhere. He never misses anything. He and Mo Moran, his photographer, are right there on the scene, watching it. They're inside the perimeter. They accidentally ended up inside the perimeter, so they're just sort of frozen in place, trying not to make any waves or make trouble. And they witnessed 24 sheriff's deputies' vehicles and FBI vehicles, as well as 2 armored SWAT trucks, and just a phalanx of SWAT officers who descended upon this home and actually took 2 people out, a man and a woman. Here's how Brian Enton reported this live from the driver's seat as he was trying his best to see out the rainy window in the pitch blackness with all these, vehicles who'd responded to this incident. Take a look.
There is an active SWAT situation happening right now. Earlier, I reported that the SWAT team was staging They have now moved in on a house in Pima County. And again, we're keeping our lights off because we're very, very close to where this is happening. And we don't want to interfere at all. And we don't want to reveal our location, obviously. We don't want to compromise the investigation. But I know that they have already, from what I can tell, pulled 2 people out of a house. And I know that this is connected to the Nancy Guthrie investigation. That I have confirmed. Whether this is going to pan out into something significant or whether we're going to sort of see what happened the other night with the man who was detained and then released, that I cannot tell you. But the amount of resources here is massive. We saw dozens of SWAT members. We saw at least 2 SWAT trucks fully armored. There's the FBI that is now out here. There's the Pima County Sheriff's Office. And there's at least, I must have followed at least 24 sheriff's deputies and FBI cars into this neighborhood where I am now. So I wish I had more information. I have, again, confirmed that this is related to the Nancy Guthrie investigation, that this is a SWAT operation, that they have pulled 2 people out. So I wanted to wait to come on until I knew that we were not putting any, law enforcement in jeopardy, like before they went in. They have already gone in. So it was a man and a woman, and it was hard to tell because it's so dark. And some of this is from sources. Some of this is not what I saw a little bit of it, but I'm also hearing that from several sources in terms of who was pulled out. So I couldn't see if they were handcuffed. But I am told it was a man and a woman, and there may also be a traffic stop close by that's also involved, which I'm trying to sort of piece that part of the puzzle together right now. But again, I do know for sure that this is connected to the Nancy Guthrie investigation.
So vehicle after vehicle after vehicle after vehicle entered through the cones and into the area, the neighborhood where this dynamic situation was playing out. Dozens and dozens of vehicles, including 2 that were Pima County Sheriff's Office forensic vehicles. Super interesting. The search could take hours and hours and hours. It did the other night in Rio Rico. It took hours and hours. I don't think it wrapped up till around 3 a.m. Eastern time. But the sheriff's department decided at one point they were going to hold a news conference, like right there, out in the rain. And then that plan changed. So we have been waiting for an update late into the night. At about 10 to midnight, the Pima County Sheriff said there'd be no press briefing and that there would be a written statement forthcoming. And so 2 hours plus later, we get this. And it's not very informative, but it says law enforcement activity is underway at a residence near East Orange Grove Road and North First Avenue related to the Guthrie case. Because this is a joint investigation at the request of the FBI, no additional information is currently available. So obviously they're working well together tonight, but that's all we have. A couple of things that I have on the agenda for the episode, big notes today. So last night, if you watched my episode, Fox News had broken this big piece of news very late at night that they had high-level FBI sources that had told them that there was a glove found inside Nancy's home. And then there was also this beef that was ongoing between the sheriff and the FBI. And today, that whole thing is now reversed. The sheriff has come out after telling us he wasn't going to do any press conferences or give one-on-one interviews. He just started to do selective interviews. So I'm going to give you one really good interview that he did. That's coming up. And it's Elizabeth Vargas with News Nation, former colleague of mine. She's really smart. She did just a fantastic interview with the sheriff. She really covered a lot of bases. And I'm going to let you see all of the things he said from his own lips. But, first and foremost, is he knocked down, that there's no glove that was ever retrieved from inside the home. Around the home, sure, in a vicinity. Not on the property, though. Number 2, that there is no beef. Now, we talked a little bit about this off the top of the episode last night. Careful. Reporters love to seize one guy's words or one person's words and then blow it up really big because it makes a really big headline. But, it's nuanced. There's a lot of politics going on in that jurisdiction. And sure, there's some people who don't like their boss. That's not unheard of anywhere. I've certainly heard that about this particular sheriff's department, but to say that the FBI is not playing in the sandbox with the sheriff's department, or the sheriff's department is not playing in the sandbox with the FBI, I think overall, if you believe what the sheriff said today, that's overblown. Well, watch this space, because someone in the FBI may leak again what they think. But so far, he's done a lot of interviews, he said over and over, and you're going to hear all of his words in multi-different areas and ways. Statements, interviews, all the rest. And then also, another note. Well, it wouldn't be the day 13 if we didn't have another note from some freak. Whether this freak is connected or not remains to be seen, but somebody sent another note to TMZ. So this would be 3 that Harvey Levin and his team have received. And this third note has some specifics in it as well. I'm going to get to that, tell you what TMZ has on this and what they've done as well with it. And then there's some really crazy video that was shared on a neighborhood app, and it kind of went wildfire through social media today of a mysterious looking guy about 6 miles away from Nancy Guthrie's house, poking and prodding in somebody else's front entrance twice in the night, 2 different times. I'm going to tell you exactly what is happening with that video and with the police and what they think of it. Because it matters. It matters. They're taking it seriously. And then, I don't know, I really like this. Derek Kayea. I don't know how he pronounces his name, but that fella's in a world of hurt. He's the guy that authorities believe sent the bogus ransom requests straight to Annie Guthrie and her husband. He was caught in California. He made an appearance in Tucson, federal court. You don't want to mess with the feds. And we're going to show you, I guess you could call it the walk of shame. If he's guilty, holy shit, is this guy in trouble? His life is over, right? Anyway, I'm going to show you all of that. And again, I've got this phenomenal interview that I'm going to play for you with the Pima County Sheriff. And then some weird shit. Like, just a lot of weird stuff happened today. And I got a whole basket of it that I'm going to send your way. First, though, big thank you. And please, if you're watching for the first time and you're not subscribed, welcome. It's nice to have you. If you have watched before and you're not subscribed, boink, hit the subscribe button. Do me a solid. Love to have you guys subscribe. Love to grow our community. It means the world to me. And I just thank you so much for coming and being here and allowing me to do my work independently. I don't work for a TV station now, so I can quote every TV station. I don't have to avoid what Fox or CNN or News Nation or whatever. I can tell everybody, I can tell you everybody's reporting. And so, because I'm an independent journalist, I want to thank my sponsors. They are making this possible. And Just Thrive has joined my team, and I really like them. I test and like all the products that I endorse, folks. And I do want to talk about something important real quick, if you'll permit me. Health and well-being, yours and mine. If your gut is off, everything is off. It affects your digestion, your energy, your mood, even your focus. Everything starts in your tummy. So when you have those struggles, your whole body feels it. And that's why I am trusting Just Thrive Probiotic. Just Thrive turns your gut into an antioxidant factory, which means better digestion and healthy immunity and more energy and even weight management. Thank you. Just Thrive Probiotic comes in capsules, berry-flavored gummies, so there's an option for everybody in the family. I like the gummies. You know, who doesn't like gummies? So here's my challenge. Try Just Thrive Probiotic for 90 days, risk-free. Visit justthrivehealth.com. I got you 20% off. You're welcome. Just use the promo code Banfield and see the difference for yourself. You can get a full product refund. No questions asked if you ain't satisfied. So take the 90-day Just Thrive Probiotic Challenge. Go to justthrivehealth.com/Banfield and be the best you with Just Thrive. Okay, let's go over some of the day, because yet again, it was a doozy. So at 6 p.m. Eastern Time, 4 p.m. Tucson time, Brian Enton reports that there's planes like circling overhead as he's doing a live shot for News Nation. And he says they are Pima County Sheriff's aircraft. They are known for doing surveillance, which is intriguing. There's no announcement as to what they're doing, why they're up there, but they were up there. So the search has gone to the air, at least today, at least at 4 p.m. local time. And then not long after that, Brian and a whole other bunch of media outlets reported that the mobile command vehicle and a SWAT vehicle were on the move. That happened about 5:30. And KVOA, as I mentioned, a local station confirmed that is connected to the Guthrie case. And so a lot of media followed, a lot of streamers followed, and responsibly, many and most stayed back so as to not, alert said target that, the popo's coming. And so that's still ongoing as I come to you tonight. It's 10 o'clock Eastern right now. Don't know what it's going to yield, but we got a really late yield the last time there was a door knockdown, raid. It happened around 10, 11 o'clock at night. Guy was arrested. Well, guy was detained, put in cuffs on a traffic stop. He had his family in the car, door dashing. They busted down the door of his home. They did a very long search and ultimately determined not the guy. He had a good alibi, the sheriff said. But a tip and some other things, other kinds of electronics, the sheriff's wording was odd. Other kinds of digital work led to that particular action. Don't know what led to tonight's, but we do know that there's DNA that is not Nancy Guthrie's DNA, and not anyone in her immediate orb, family or others, that was found inside the house. What kind of DNA? Good question. That's important. Really good question. I'm going to explain in a moment how critical the kind of DNA you get is in an investigation. Like, one piece of DNA ain't like another. And there's a great expression for it, and that is that DNA is a dirty word. I'll explain it in just a moment, but first, just so you know, sheriff is confirming DNA, in fact, found in Nancy's home, not related to her family or those that she has in her, direct circle of people. So ABC reported that early on and said that DNA samples are being compared to samples taken from associates of Nancy Guthrie, according to sheriff. Now, I want to give Matt Finn from Fox News Channel big props because he was first today, by my estimation, and I'm scanning pretty far and wide, but he was the first today to score an interview with the Pima County Sheriff, Chris Nanos, and knock down a lot of the story from yesterday. He'd done this big interview, and let me give you the highlights. No glove inside the house. And emphatically, no fancy words, no wishy-washies, no, getting around it. No, 100%. Sheriff's like, nah, that is just wrong. There was no glove inside the house. So here's how Fox News Channel opened one of their late prime hours with this exclusive reporting last night. Take a look.
And Jesse, I want to start with a little breaking news. A high-level source at the FBI has just confirmed to me that the Pima County Sheriff's Department has blocked key evidence to the FBI. We're talking about a glove found inside Nancy Guthrie's house along with some DNA. The FBI wanted that evidence so they could take it, analyze it themselves, send it to Quantico to get some faster return. The Sheriff's Department decided to keep that evidence and send it to a private analyst firm in Florida. So clearly that is not going to help the relationship here between the FBI and the Pima County Sheriff, which we know in the early going has been tense at best.
And Fox has really good contacts in the federal government. They're very connected to Cash Patel as well. I don't know if Cash is the source of that, but that was a sourced report. Multiple other outlets matched that reporting, and that was the headline of the night, only to be flipped on its ass today. And Fox News, Matt Finn, getting the different side of the story. So no glove was sent to that Florida lab. And by the way, if you were watching last night, turns out it was the Florida lab that I had named. The lab that the Pima County Sheriff's Department uses is in Deerfield Beach, Florida. And it is a very, very good lab with a really good track record. And that is the one apparently that they've used. That, I should say, came from good sourced reporting. I didn't find that out myself, though. Okay, so apparently they've been using this lab for over a decade. They got that stuff out fast. This is before the FBI comes in, because the FBI comes in the next day on Monday. This is what the sheriff has told us now, is that the FBI got involved one day into this thing. So it's not like, they were left out for days. They were brought into the fold on Monday. And remember what we had on Sunday. We had a missing grandmother. So time is of the essence, right? Chop, chop. I need this tested now. And so it kind of stands to reason that the Pima County Sheriff's Department would fire that stuff off to a private lab that can do it fast. Your state lab is way backed up, right? They just forget it. State labs, don't even get me started. They're so overworked, underpaid, and they mess up a lot, and they screw up a lot of cases, not necessarily because they're bad people. It's just because there's just too much to do. But private labs, bam. You can get that done. You can get that back within 24 hours, if you pay. And I've got some details about money changing hands, reports of $200,000 being paid to that lab, then other reports saying it was pro bono, a little confusing there as well. But important that you know that was the plan. Get it to the lab in Florida, Deerfield Beach. They're really good at what they do. They've got an incredible track record, and let's get that back fast and just find out if there's somebody we can catch quickly. So the sheriff also said to Matt Finn, Fox News, it's bullshit that there's this massive war going on between the FBI and us at the sheriff's department. It's just not true. We're working well together. He said it is a kidnapping, still believe it's a kidnapping. Found a few different gloves around the area, but not in the property, some of them miles away, some of them as far as Phoenix, right? No one is ever really eliminated when asked if anyone's been ruled out. This is what Matt was told. Also, again, more than one issue led the sheriff to the Rio Rico man, but he's satisfied with that man's alibi. Will not confirm to Fox if there was forced entry. Remember, I told you on Tuesday of last week that my source said there was indeed forced entry, but every time the sheriff's been asked, he says, I won't confirm that. Of the criticism that the sheriff's office released Nancy Guthrie's crime scene too soon and opened it up too quickly. Originally, he said that's on me. But now he's kind of going back on and saying that's not true. They got what they needed. He said that anybody else who came in and investigated afterwards got what they needed, and then was asked, should you have cleaned the blood up outside the house? Now, I know the answer to that one. It's not the job of the police to clean up a crime scene. That's not what they do. So nobody should take swipes at the cops for leaving blood. That's the way it works, unfortunately. Anyway, sheriff's deputies' cars that are parked outside of the home, of Nancy Guthrie's home. That is also something that the sheriff said is at the request of the family for safety. It's not a signal that the sheriff left too soon, that they're back there. He said that was something that the family requested. Then on the allegations that the family members are involved, the sheriff said, quote, family's been fully, 100%, completely, whatever we've asked for, they've done. It was getting crazy out there with allegations about family. But in the same interview, he also said no one is ever really ruled out as of today. He also said that he's got a great relationship with the FBI. They're a good team. They're good people. Okay, so Elizabeth Vargas did this fantastic interview on Elizabeth Vargas Tonight on News Nation tonight. And she asked a wide range of these questions and more. And you'll get the differences in his wording, the differences in the questions. But I want to play that interview for you now.
Sheriff Nanos, I want to first talk to you about the DNA that you are testing. You have unknown DNA that you have found, DNA that does not match anybody in the Guthrie family, does not match anybody working for Nancy Guthrie inside her home. This sounds like this could be a significant lead.
Well, we found DNA and we eliminated some people, yes. And yes, it's significant when we find somebody that certainly matches that for sure. But right now, there's a lot of significant leads we're working. I think that video was very key to us, and we're tracking down some things there too. So we as of what's today? I'm sorry, it's Friday. So as of Wednesday, we had over 18,000 leads here. The FBI had some 15,000 leads there. We put that video out, and in less than a couple hours, we had almost another 5,000 leads.
Wow.
We're probably close to 40, 50,000 today. But we want those leads. We need those leads. We need people to keep calling us and sending us things, and because that's what's going to solve this case.
Presumably, you've run that DNA against CODIS, which is the database for people who have been convicted of crimes and did not find a match.
I don't know where they're at, but correct. We have no match. I don't know how. There's a lot of work to do with DNA and splitting it and mixtures and different things, way above my grade. I just allow my team. They deal with this stuff all the time. They're the experts, the FBI as well. And we let them come to us and tell us what it is they need, and we help them with that.
Did you find this DNA inside the house or outside the house?
I can't go there. I'm sorry.
But it was near the house. I mean, it wasn't, at some random place 2 miles away.
It was, well, the DNA we worked with was the DNA from that house the morning we went out and processed that crime scene.
You, obviously, this door cam video was a huge, significant breakthrough for you. Are you also working on retrieving video from the Nest cameras that were inside Nancy Guthrie's home or perhaps in other places on her property?
Yeah, I won't say where they were located, but I will say this. Yes, we had several cameras that we took and gave. That's part of this story was the sheriff's holding back from the FBI or block. That's furthest from the truth. I don't know where that comes from. We came in that morning on Sunday or Monday morning, I guess it is now, took our evidence. My team says we're going to send ours to the lab. It's a lab we use. They're in Florida now. I think years ago they may have been in Arizona. I don't know. They put in a bid every year or every couple of years, and they win it. They're a good lab. They've done great work for us, solved cases before. FBI has a great lab. They've solved some cases for us. That wasn't the issue here. The issue was we submitted our evidence from that crime scene to there. We also had some hard evidence, what I consider hard, physical cameras, phones, computers, things like that. And we knew the FBI has the best resources for those items to be analyzed. And that morning, people say, oh, you waited too long to call. We called them that morning, 8 o'clock. They immediately said, Sheriff, whatever you need. And they were attached to it. In fact, you just have to look at the press conferences that day, or I think it was Tuesday, the day after. Who's standing behind me? The FBI. Right. The next press conference, FBI. So we have a relationship here with the FBI that is not just vital to the FBI. It's not just vital to my department. It is vital to this community. And that relationship has lasted for 30, 40 years, as far as I know. We've always sent people to work in their building with their agents. They've had people at our place to work with us. To suggest that this sheriff would tell the FBI no on anything, that's crazy.
So these reports that we have gotten that the FBI is frustrated that they feel you're not cooperating are completely false.
I agree. They're completely false. At this local level, I don't know what's going on in Washington. I respect Washington because they have a job to do too. That's my FBI team here locally. That's their boss. And they have right to make decisions as bosses. I have bosses too. That's my community. And so we sit down with their local leadership here, the SAC and the ASAC from Phoenix and Tucson, and we talk about these things. I've spent more time talking to you, probably 10 times more, than talking to the SACs about this DNA going to their lab or our lab. It was nothing more than simply a matter of, I have a lab that has all of our evidence. They have our markers for the family and people we want. Maybe it's the landscaper, the pool guy, all of those there. Why would I send? And then we had another crime scene at a scene we did a search warrant on. All of that stuff went to our labs. And so when they brought me the glove that was found some 2 miles away, they said, we'll send it to our lab. I said, well, why do that? Let's just keep it all in one place.
Keep it all in one place. Okay, we should say for our audience that the SAC is the special agent in charge of the FBI. Getting back to the other Nest cameras, when do you think we might see I know this is an arduous process. Google helped out with the doorbell cam. When might we see the video from the other cameras?
We looked at it and said, FBI, you guys take this on. Just like the ransom notes, they're great at that. They handle it. They deal with it. They got some of it back. What you saw, that one video, that's key. That front door video was so key to us. We're hopeful that the other cameras can be done the same with, but we have not heard. We know they were submitted, I think, to Google, and Google said, we'll try our best, but we've not heard back.
A neighbor, you put out an alert yesterday asking people to recheck all their security cameras, even their car cameras, because Teslas, for example, have recordings. You asked everybody to check from January 1st until February 2nd, which is a massive time frame. There has been video that has emerged from January 23rd, and this is from a home about 6 miles from Nancy Guthrie's home. It shows a man on the front step at about 5 a.m. Are you investigating this, and do you know whether it's related?
So we have, like you suggest, a lot of video to go through. And this is one of them that we were alerted to, and we're looking at it. I allow the team, my team, the FBI team, those men and women who do the work, they take this as it is nothing more than a lead, just like other leads. And they're taking it and they'll do everything they can to work with it and see, does it tie into ours? Right now, the belief is not really, but we're not dismissing it. We're still looking into it.
And you also asked for a specific date. I believe it was January 11th for neighbors to search. Why that date?
Well, I'm not real sure about all that with dates. I know we think of a search pattern. We come in and we fly over, we have ground troops, we do a search pattern. We come back the next day and we look at it, did we miss anything? And we kind of go over it again. And once we feel good about that, we expand that search pattern. The same with dates, timeframes. Did we limit ourselves when we said, we want to know what happened between the 1st of February and the 2nd of February, or the 31st of January and the 1st of February? Maybe, but we know that there's more info out there, so we're expanding it. Is January 11th a specific date with specific ties to it? I don't know that. I allow my team to work, and they trust me. They do tremendous work, and we support this.
Are you still treating this case as a kidnapping, or are you also treating this as a possible homicide?
So, yes, it's definitely a kidnapping. As for a homicide, we are working under the belief that she's still out there somewhere. The family believes that. I believe that. Why would we think otherwise? There's people say, well, there's no proof of life. Well, there's no proof of death either. Sometimes hope is all we've got. I've got a team of 400 officers out there from the state, the feds, the locals. They're working hard, not just for 8 to 4. They're 24/7.
Yeah.
And they're out there right now as we speak. And they need to have that hope too. And they do.
In cases like this, it is standard protocol. Investigators first start with the small circle of immediate family and very close friends and eliminate them and then work their way out. Have you completely eliminated any member of the Guthrie family?
I will say this. I don't believe you eliminate anybody ever, because take the gentleman in Rio Rico where we went and did a search warrant.
Right.
We talked to him. We felt comfortable with what he said. We checked into his story, and we felt like, okay, maybe there's not. But you don't know that, because what if the stuff we sent to the lab comes back and says, hey, you have Nancy's DNA here. So you can't really ever eliminate anybody. What we do is we chase that lead down to an end and go, is this it? Are we satisfied? As for the family, and this is really key to me, and the media and those on social media need to understand this. You don't know the harm you do when you accuse somebody of something without any facts. And this family is suffering. They are grieving. And they have done nothing but cooperate with us all the way, every step of the way. My heart goes out to them. Have they been eliminated? Like I say, nobody's ever eliminated until we find who we're looking for. That video, someone knows who that is. That's who we need. We need somebody to tell us this is who this man is.
And very quickly, you brought up the glove that was found about 2 miles away. Do you think that glove was dropped by whoever took Nancy Guthrie?
Well, every piece of evidence, just like every clue, is vital. And I would never tell my community, oh, don't bother us with that. Don't bother. But that glove was 2 miles away. So we prioritize it. We look at it. We'd be crazy not to go and pick that up and look at it. But since then, we've had reports of gloves being found 5-10 miles away. We still go out there and grab those, and we look into it, and we prioritize it and prepare it for processing of evidence.
But you haven't discovered whether or not Nancy Guthrie's DNA was on that glove?
The glove was sent for DNA, and that's all I know right now.
You're still waiting. I'm sure if her DNA was on that sheriff, you would have been the first person to get that phone call.
I would hope so.
Do you have any doubt you're going to solve this case? Do you have any doubt we're ever going to know what happened?
No, I have complete trust in my team. This is a team of young men and women, and now we have several teams of young men and women who do this every day. I would put their work up against anybody. Their homicide rate solvency is probably closest to 100% of any city this size. We're going to solve this. We're going to find this person, and we're going to find Nancy.
Sheriff Chris Nanos, thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it.
So in all, the sheriff's, the line that stuck with me from the sheriff today was there is no daylight between local law enforcement and the FBI here. Again, there is no daylight between local law enforcement and the FBI here. That's what the sheriff says. And to underscore it, he did all these interviews, and I know that people have been taking the piss out of him online saying, wait, no interviews being granted, no press conferences, and then, oh, here's my interview. I felt the same way. I thought, well, hold on. What is it? You're either doing interviews or you're not doing interviews, or you're selecting, friendlies. I'm not sure that he was selecting friendlies, because Fox News, had that report last night saying that there's this acrimony, and he gave Fox News an interview. He gave Matt Finn the interview. So I don't know. I'm just here to report what I get. So Sheriff put out this statement, and it's far-reaching. I want to read it for you because there's things in it that weren't in some of the reporting. So I want you to have all the info instead of pieces of the info. Okay. Good afternoon, media partners. Investigation. He headlines each segment. So, investigation. The Pima County Sheriff's Department and the FBI continue to work jointly on this case. Our strong partnership is critical, and we remain fully committed to this collaborative investigation. Pretty strong language. To ensure consistency and streamlined testing, evidence requiring forensic analysis is being sent to the same out-of-state lab that has been utilized since the beginning of this case. This decision was discussed with and agreed upon by local FBI leadership. Local. Field office guys. That's different than the feds up in Washington. So maybe there's some disconnect between the Washington folks and the locals. I don't know. But listen, that's really strident language, strong partnership, fully committed to collaborative investigation, and also highlighting what he told Elizabeth Vargas, and that is that we started this investigation on Sunday because the locals respond. It's their job. It is the locals' job to respond to local crime and process a scene. And so when they got a missing woman and they've got some evidence, they're going to send it to the place they're used to using and the thing that they're going to get back fastest. So that makes sense that he would then put that in the statement. Let me continue. Evidence. Several gloves have been located during the investigation. The closest gloves were found approximately 2 miles from the home. Reports that a glove was found inside the residence or on the property are inaccurate. All collected evidence has been submitted for laboratory analysis. DNA other than Nancy Guthrie's and those in close contact to her has been collected from the property. Investigators are working to identify who it belongs to. We are not disclosing where that DNA was located. Leads. Next section. Investigators continue to follow up on all leads. The suspect description released by the FBI this week remains a key focus. However, investigators are not ruling out any individuals or possibilities. No suspect vehicles have been identified. Identified. It's a huge word. Identified to us. That doesn't mean that they don't have something on their own radar that they're just not making public. We ask the public to continue submitting actionable tips. All submitted videos are being reviewed. There was a statement that the sheriff made actually last night to Mary Coleman, local affiliate KOLD, when he did his interview with her, as we were all wondering, I thought you weren't doing interviews. Anyway, Mary Coleman did an interview. And at the end of her tweet, she said that the sheriff said, they've got some really good leads. That stood out to me. They've got some really good leads. It's promising, right? You just want hope. In a case like this, yeah, it's mystery, yeah, all the rest, but you just want hope. Just think again. This is somebody's mother. Just imagine if this was yours. If this was your mother. Hope is all you have to go on. And you just want every scrap of it you can get. So when I see a line like that, we've got really good leads. I seize on those things. I like that. All right, video requests, next section of his statement. The Pima County Sheriff's Department will send an additional message to surveillance camera users in the Guthrie neighborhood via the Neighbors app this afternoon, meaning today. And again, today is February the 13th. Pool service. This is important. One of the really batshit crazy things that happened today was that reporters noticed two pool service trucks driving into the home of Nancy Guthrie, into the driveway. And it's like, dude, hold it. This is a kind of a crime scene still. I mean, still searchers are happening. The tent went up yesterday. Why is the pool guy here? And two vehicles, right? Up went the drones and caught the pool cleaners just doing their job back there. And we all thought, what the actual? And the sheriff heard your concerns. So in the sheriff's statement, mentions pool service. At the request of the Guthrie family, routine pool maintenance was conducted at the residence today. That's all he said. At the request of the Guthrie family. Let's be frank, guys. You can't let the house fall apart. The house still has to be looked after. And you can't let a pool not be looked after, especially in that heat and the rain today, etc. So that's what the sheriff just addressed, that issue. And then this again, media briefings. Getting tired of reading this. There are currently no press briefings scheduled. The sheriff has granted a limited number of one-on-one interviews today, I'll say, and will not schedule additional interviews through the weekend. We understand media interest is high. However, due to time constraints, not all requests can be accommodated. We encourage outlets to coordinate with their local affiliates when possible. Look, I get it. We are a pain in the ass. Honest to God. Ask any sheriff's department across the country, any police department across the country, ask the FBI. We are a pain in their ass. Trying to bring the public transparency, that exists and doesn't exist is a hard job, and it takes dogged efforts. When there's a big story like this and the media descends en masse, it's just amplified, and it's hard. It's hard to deal with people like us. And when I say us, we are your gateway to getting whatever information there is about a story like this. And, we're all in this together, right? This isn't us against them. These are our agencies. We pay for them. They're our security agencies. We are hoping that they're taking care of us the best we can. I think everybody's developed quite an affinity for Mrs. Guthrie, whether it's because of the story itself or whether you're a fan of Savannah and you're really moved by the photos of her with her mom. Who wouldn't be? Who wouldn't be? But we all seem to really care a lot. And I have been in this business a long time, and I see when certain stories like Gabby Petito really gripped people. They care, they're worried for the welfare of the missing person. And so I get it. Okay, so I said DNA is a dirty word. And Matt Murphy, who's got a great book called The Book of Murder, I encourage you to run out and get it because he's a smart guy and he's super analytical. He does not talk out of his ass. Matt Murphy said today in a segment on News Nation that DNA is a dirty word among investigators. And that's because not all DNA comes in the same delivery packet, right? And I don't want to upset you because I'm going to talk very clinically with regard to criminal justice. But if DNA comes from semen, that's a different story. That is a different kind of DNA, right? If DNA comes from blood, that is a different story. That is a different kind of DNA. If there is just DNA, say, on the front entrance of Nancy's floor after you pass the front door, if that's the DNA, well, that's different, okay? Because there's such thing as touch DNA, right? DNA transfers very easily. So we shed skin cells and hair cells and all sorts of stuff all the time. And I'm just going to give you a scenario. I'm going to give you two. We'll start with this one. Delivery guy sweating like hell because it's, Tucson. And he's got a package and he's ringing the doorbell, or he drops it on the front doorstep of Nancy Guthrie's home, and she opens the door eventually, she picks it up, or she takes it from him, right? And she throws it on her front hall table, or she puts it on the floor, or she puts it on the kitchen table. It is quite possible that his DNA is now in Nancy Guthrie's home. Does that delivery man have any reason to have been inside Nancy Guthrie's home? No, of course not. Does it mean he's been in Nancy Guthrie's home? No. That's why DNA is a dirty word, because things get dirty with DNA and they transfer into places that they might not otherwise have ever been. And here's a better example. And Matt actually brought this example. He said he had a case once, California case. Woman is dead. Fingerprints all over her fridge, right? DNA, fingerprints all over her fridge. We got the guy. And they get the guy. But he's all the way over, I think, on the East Coast. He's a long way away anyway. If I'm getting the story slightly wrong, Matt, I'm sorry. But they figure out that this guy has never been to California. So how are your fingerprints and your DNA on her fridge, sir? And said sir worked in the actual production line of the fridge, in the manufacturing of the fridge. So dude had his hands on the fridge, probably putting it into the box that ended up getting shipped to California. Touch DNA. It can make its way all over the place. And it can be rubbed off on one thing and then from that thing be rubbed off onto something else. So I just caution you about the kind of DNA that was found and the location of the DNA. The sheriff said the location of the DNA. That's critical because the location of the DNA is also important. You get a guy's DNA on her bed sheets, different than the front hall floor or table or kitchen table, right? Little harder to have touch DNA rub off. Not impossible. Again, I've taken my FedEx packages upstairs with me and cut them open, thrown the package onto the bed. I'm sure you have too at some point. So just remember that shit can go sideways easily with DNA, but the kind of DNA that doesn't often go sideways is semen, blood. That's the kind of stuff that isn't like came in on a package, Okay. So another Matt Finn story from today that I found very interesting. Matt, you're getting a huge shout out on Drop Dead Serious tonight. He's been doing some really good work, by the way. Fox News has been doing just bananas work, just such good work on this story. But I also know that they've got about 35 people, maybe more at this time, in the Tucson area, helping them to cover this story. They've really descended upon the story. Hence, they're doing really good work. But Matt Finn, one of the correspondents for Fox News, said in one of his tweets today that catching a vehicle on camera, well, there's a scenario in which the Guthrie getaway car may not have been clearly recorded on a traffic camera. And I know what you're saying. That's impossible, right? How is that possible? There's cameras everywhere. In this day and age, there's effing cameras everywhere, right? There's flock cameras everywhere. Flock cameras seem to get under people's skin. Other people hate them, love them, but flock license plate readers are kind of all over the place. How on earth could this guy have driven? Because you're not carrying Nancy on a bike or on your back out of this very, very dark. You're driving. So how could that car not have been registered somewhere? Okay, well, here's what Matt Finn said. It was very smart reporting, by the way. City of Tucson tells Fox News that it doesn't use traffic cameras to record vehicles. Right? That's important because what they're trying to say here is that our traffic cameras measure dynamics of traffic so that maybe the signals can change quicker, right? Have you ever noticed that sometimes your light's really long? Well, there's vehicle surveillance that can assess that, hey, this traffic's very heavy going this way, so let's shorten up those red lights and get this traffic flowing faster. And that's effectively what Matt was saying the city of Tucson said about using traffic cameras to record vehicles. To assess the live patterns, sure. Pima County says that it does have cameras that record, but that they're not perfect, that they are imperfect and may not catch license plates. That's a piss off because why bother? Why are you recording the vehicles? I mean, okay, maybe we'll have remember the white Elantra? We didn't have a plate on that either, but we had a white Elantra. So maybe it won't catch a plate, but it might catch a car. Nearby Oracle Road, a lot of people have made hay about Oracle Road, which partially connects Nancy's neighborhood to Annie's neighborhood, her daughter. That is a state route, but Arizona DOT, Arizona Department of Transportation, says it has cameras, but they also don't record. Again, I guess that is for traffic flow, for assessing the traffic flow. But there was this commenter on Twitter today that I found interesting. I can't back it up because I don't know this person. I looked at their bio and it didn't look like they had, anything that indicated they would know a lot about this. But they did say that regarding flock license plate readers, Tucson has about 175 of them, including several on North Oracle Road. I can't tell you that that's true, but I was interested just to hear that because another commenter said that local politics in Tucson has affected traffic cams, that traffic cams used to mail out tickets to people, but that, there was a lot of backlash and there was a local ballot measure that repealed that. So that's interesting. And then going a little further, one of the commenters said, take a look at this website, deflocktucson.com. So I went to the website, deflocktucson.com. And it is an anti-surveillance group that was started just this past September 2025 at the University of Arizona. They are just anti-surveillance. They don't like the Big Brother. A lot of people don't like the Big Brother neighborhoods. They don't like to be under surveillance without people being able to be aware of that. They think if you're going to be under surveillance, there should at least be signs saying you are under surveillance so you don't feel like you're, again, just under Big Brother's watch. So deflocktucson.com suggests to me that there is a lot of flock activity in the Tucson area. Why you can't get a read on someone coming out of a neighborhood that's got like one in, one out, one ingress, one egress, I don't know. Okay, Sheriff Chris Nanos. I'm jumping around a little bit because I collected a lot of information throughout the day and it may not be in perfect order, but Sheriff Nanos told News 4 Tucson that the Florida lab is analyzing samples that were given voluntarily and those from the crime scene pro bono. You know what that means? Free. But the Reuters report said that he spent $200,000 on the DNA tests. Now, I can't make hay of that. All I can say is that News 4 Tucson got the comment that there was pro bono work, and Reuters got comment that both things can be true. Maybe there's some pro bono work going on, and maybe there's also a $200,000 bill for additional work. I think there's a shit ton of testing that's going to go on with this case. A lot. So, and $200,000, by the way, is not a lot. DNA testing is not cheap. It's not quick. And there's a lot of it that's needed. And so if you have, kind of like if you want to get your order faster from Amazon, you pay a premium. It may be a lot of that as well. So interesting just to see that reporting. And thank you, News 4 Tucson, for getting that. Very interesting. Okay, so now let's go. I feel like my chain gets yanked, and I think you do too, all day. One moment you're seeing something on Twitter, and then it's making the cable news outlets. And you're like, oh my God, this is related. And there's this guy 6 miles away from Nancy Guthrie's home. And he's seen on the front porch of someone else's home. Again, 6 miles away. He's seen at 3:30 in the morning, and he's seen at 5 in the morning on January 23rd. This was posted on a neighborhood app, okay? A lot of people were showing this guy his face. They weren't digitizing his face. They were spreading all over social media. And I'm digitizing it because there's resolution on this. First of all, I saw what he looked like, and it did look like he could be the guy in the mask. I mean, he's got a goatee, right? He's got that, and he's got the build, and he's got dark hair, the eyebrows. But apart from that, anybody could be in that fucking mask. The mask covers everything. So there's like an artist who drew up this is what I think the guy looks like based on, his eyes and his mouth. But I had to guess that everything else that was covered up. I'm like, really? Really? So, anyway, the sheriff actually was clear on this, on Elizabeth Vargas. He was very clear. I'm going to read for you exactly the words that the sheriff used about this guy because huge clue in something that just kind of went by very quickly. I'm going to read his exact words about that video in just a moment. But first, again, huge thank you. Thank you to you for supporting my channel. Click subscribe if you would. I would so appreciate it. Thank you. It's very easy. Apparently you just push a button. That's what I'm told. Also, big thank you to Morgan & Morgan for being a sponsor because they make this possible. And I don't think I have to tell you, having a good lawyer, super important in life. Morgan & Morgan is America's largest personal injury law firm. They've got over 1,000 lawyers. Holy Dinah. They've recovered over $25 billion with a B for more than 500,000 clients. So, yeah, track record. In Florida, one of their clients got $100 million after the insurance company suggested maybe $1 million. Yeah, 100 to 1 odds there. Another client in Pennsylvania got $29 million after a $500,000 offer. And in California, hold my beer. The client got $425 million. That was awarded by the court. So any idea what your case is worth? You can find out. You can start a claim, and it only takes 8 clicks on your phone. I'm not kidding. 8 clicks. Fight for what you deserve. If you're injured, you can start your claim by going to forthepeople.com/Banfield. That's forthepeople.com/Banfield, or just click the link below, or scan the QR code on your screen. And good luck to you. So the sheriff was asked about this video from January 23rd, 6 miles away, that had everybody like freaking out today. And he said it's nothing more than a lead, and they're taking it, and they'll do everything they can to work with it and see, does it tie in? Right now, the belief is not really. But we're not dismissing it. We're still looking into it. Right now, the belief is not really. That's really interesting. Okay, now to some of the TMZ reporting today. They have received this third note from scum of the earth, whether he's or she, whoever it is associated with this crime or not, whether they're just parasites trying to, extort a family in the worst moment of their lives. So the third note is now a person who has said that they're upping their price. 1 Bitcoin was what they said in the first note. Second note was, I'm not being taken seriously. And now the third note is, I'm now upping my price to $100,000 instead of the 1 Bitcoin, which is $67,000. So this is the third note in a series of 3. But don't forget, TMZ also received a 4th communique, an alleged ransom note that asked for $4 million on a Thursday. And if that deadline wasn't met, $6 million on a Monday. TMZ has said that they check the Bitcoin account on that, by the way, every day, and that there's been absolutely no movement, no money, nothing. But they received this series of 3 notes over the last couple of days. And the third one came today from the same person. And they know it's the same person because they include the same details that TMZ has not released to the public. So they know it's the same person. They've used an email address and a name, and apparently the email address and name are different every time. And they've upped the price again to $100,000 for information. They said they know who has Nancy. And they know the condition of Nancy. That's something else that they said. And they said this quote, this is important. I was listening to Charles Ladebaudiere on this. He said, he's the second in command at TMZ. He said, when he gets the initial payment, he will give up the name of the main individual. It's interesting wording. When he gets the initial payment, he will give up the name of the main individual. Does that mean there's more than one individual? And you're just going to give up the main one? So there's a conspiracy? Or is this all bullshit? Anyway, the price has gone up to $100,000. And apparently this guy doesn't like police, says he's too scared. He's got a whole litany of reasons why he won't go to the police with this and wants to go to TMZ with it. Okay, another piece of information that came out today that was interesting. Brian Enton had an interview with a former Pima County undersheriff named Rick Castigar. He didn't have a lot of good things to say about Sheriff Chris Nanos. Here's the quote. Nanos has an exorbitant ego. In one case, he told the FBI that he's the better investigator and doesn't need their help. Take a look at this interview. And, I have heard there's a lot of politics that are playing out among the Pima County Sheriff's Office folks, prior and current. There's a lot of ugliness going on. So there you have it. There's a guy who's not fond of Sheriff Nanos. Something I saw on a Twitter account called Nerdy, I actually see him every day. It was a photo, but I haven't been able to find out where the photo comes from. And it's a photo of Nancy's front door since the white tent went up yesterday. And he pointed out that the Nest bracket mount, what was left behind after the camera was removed. The language has been different, right? My source said it was smashed. The sheriff has said it was tampered with and disconnected. But in any case, that Nest bracket mount is gone in this photo. So I'm trying to find some other reporting that shows that. That's the only photo I could see today of Nancy's door, but this was after the white tent was erected and then removed. And they've taken that bracket mount off of Nancy's front door. Okay, now to the moment you've been waiting for, I hope anyway. This guy, Derek Kayaya, I don't know how he pronounces it, 42 years old, makes a court appearance. I guess he had to come from California all the way to Tucson for a federal court appearance, but there's video of him leaving court, and the reporting is he was let out on a $20,000 bond with an ankle bracelet. I don't have that report on my own. I do have this, though, from the U.S. Attorney's Office of the District of Arizona. California man charged with transmitting a demand for ransom made an initial appearance today in federal court in Tucson. That is the U.S. Attorney Timothy Courchain. Derek Kalela, I don't know, of Hawthorne, California, is charged with transmitting a demand for ransom in interstate commerce and without disclosing his identity, utilizing a telecommunications device with intent to abuse, threaten, or harass a person. According to the criminal complaint, Kayaya is alleged to have sent the demands via 2 text messages to a missing person's family on February 4th, 2026. He's also alleged to have made a 9-second phone call to a family member. Through the course of the investigation, it was found that Kalela was acting as an imposter, trying to take advantage of the ongoing situation. The U.S. Attorney's Office and the FBI will continue to hold this defendant accountable and any other individuals who seek to interfere with federal investigations or profit from the victim family's grief. A criminal complaint is simply a method by which a person is charged with criminal activity and raises no inference of guilt. Any individual is presumed innocent until evidence is presented to a jury that establishes guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. Case number 2604209MJ. Derek, if you did this, you're going to the pokey. And, you'll have your day. Either you'll have a day before a jury or you will be making a deal, some kind of deal. I don't know what your background is like, but it better be squeaky clean if you want a good deal. I also just wanted to do something that Lindsay Haller, who's the producer of this podcast, looked at the different balaclavas and ski masks that were available at Walmart because the backpack is available at Walmart. And I just wanted to show you some of the balaclavas that are for sale through Walmart. Not a lot of them have the eye hole and the mouth hole, right? There's a lot of balaclavas that have just the eyes across, a lot of ski masks. And let me tell you, I live in the Northeast. These things are a dime a dozen, especially in Vermont when I'm up there skiing. I mean, everybody's got one of those, right? I would say in Tucson, not many people have them. I don't know why more people aren't talking about it. In Tucson, I get it. Some people ski. I get it. Not many people, right? Fewer people in Tucson than, say, Vermont. Yeah. So I kind of feel like the backpack, while it could be pretty popular, I don't think that ski mask balaclava is so popular. And what if that balaclava was purchased alongside any of the other items that are seen on this video, right? Cluster purchasing. I've seen it happen before. Idiots. Brian Walsh bought all of his stuff together, for chopping up and disposing of his wife, Anna Walsh. But people do that. They buy all of their preparatory material in one fell swoop or in 1 or 2 fell swoops. That balaclava to me is going to be the end of this guy. And I just wanted you to see a couple of examples of the balaclavas that are for sale. When you see it in night vision, you can see the texture of it, right? My feeling is that it's black because it shows up lighter. Black shows up lighter in the night vision. And you can really see the texture and you can really see the seams around the eyes. It's just fascinating to get a look at them as potential purchases. And there's not that many of them, right? Yeah, they're kind of dime a dozen, but again, in Tucson, I don't know. So another thing I wanted to talk to you about tonight was the foliage. I've been going back and forth on this a lot. And if you go over the video with me, when this perpetrator puts his hand over the camera, I see him clench his hand slightly. And I'm wondering if he's trying to pull it off, but he realizes he cannot get his hand in between the bracket and the camera. There's just a couple millimeters between these Nest cameras. It's hard to get a key in between. That's how narrow it is. So you're not going to get your fingers in between if you want to yank it off. So I'm sensing that he was maybe putting his hand on it, seeing if he could pull it off and realized, oh, I can't. Then he turns around, looks down. I think he's got the mouth light because it seems to illuminate the ground in the vestibule area, sees there's nothing there, goes out to the foliage, and then he pulls up on that foliage, right? A lot of people have said he was trying to cover up the camera, but I don't know that that's true because he holds the foliage in his fist quite tightly. One commenter said that it looked like he was testing the strength of it at the foliage. I'm not sure of that, but when he comes back to the camera, he's still got it clenched in his fist. And so if you're trying to cover the camera, I'm not so sure that you'd have it clenched in your fist as if you'd maybe try to manipulate it with both hands to cover the camera, but he's got it clenched in his fist. And I actually, as I look at it over and over, I feel like he may actually have it clenched in two hands, and he's like wedging this vine in between the camera and the mount, and maybe he's trying to pull it. And that's what's got the foliage mucking about on the front of the lens, but that he might actually be trying to use the vine to tug the camera off. It stops before we know if he was successful. And if my source, who's been right on a lot of stuff, is right about the cameras being smashed, maybe the vine and all the debris that's down below didn't do the trick, and eventually it was just smashed off the mount because Michael Ruiz of Fox News found glass fragments, little small glass fragments in Nancy's vestibule area below that camera. But it is interesting just the possibility that maybe that's what was happening, which leads me to one other thing. And my husband and I have disagreed about this a lot. How was Nancy's blood in that front area? It looks impossible to get in through that front door. And my source said that the back door was wide open. Is it possible that when your Ring cam is disturbed by activity, some people have alerts that go off, right? And they're noisy. And it's 1:47 in the morning, perhaps, or 2:12, whatever time it is. Is it possible that Nancy was asleep and the alert went off on her phone? Activity at your front door. There's motion at your front door. And that she's, rested out of a deep sleep and gets her phone to see what's going on and looks at it at the exact moment that foliage is dangling in front of the camera. And she's wondering, what is that? Is it an animal? What on earth is happening out there? And puts the phone down before you get a clear look at the man's face. And that might have taken her to the front door to open the door and wonder if it's an animal or something on her camera. It's hard to imagine that you would do that. But is it a possibility? And of course, as you're opening the door, if the perp is there, might he have pasted himself up against the wall and waited for her to come out and then injured her as she came out to look at her, to look at her camera? It was just something I was noodling the other day I'm still confounded by how there's blood inside the house and outside the house, the front door and down the pathway. And of course, we don't know what happened to Nancy. We don't know. We don't know if she was taken out on foot, if she was carried out. We don't know if she was injured. Well, we know she was bleeding. We don't know if she was incapacitated. We don't know if she was killed. But all of these scenarios, I'm sure, sheriff's deputies, detectives, FBI, homicide division was there. I'm sure they are going over every scenario, as well as, FBI agents who've done this for a very long time. And mark my words, they've got a lot more evidence to go on than we do. Are they getting there? Let's hope so. Thank you so much for being with me through this podcast. I so appreciate your I so appreciate your dedication. I love that you're here, and I love that we're in this community. Join as a member. Would love to have you as a member as well. And don't forget, subscribe. I always have to say that, subscribe. It's just a button. It's free, and nothing happens, and it doesn't affect you in any other way other than you will get my updates. Thank you, everyone. I so appreciate you watching and listening. And remember, the truth isn't just serious. It's drop dead serious.
Hey guys, thanks so much for checking out my show. I really, really appreciate it. Please click to subscribe. I really appreciate all the support. There's been a ton of developments over the last 12 hours or so in the Nancy Gutherie investigation. Nancy Gutherie, of course, is missing from her home behind me. She is Savannah Guthrie's daughter, and Savannah Gutherie put out this just really emotional and sad video message about her mom, about the situation, and also pleading to whoever allegedly abducted her mom, and even saying that they're willing to talk to that person in light of these ransom notes that we have heard about. And I'm going to get to that more in a second. I'm going to play you what Savannah said. I'm also going to talk to a retired FBI agent about what all of this means, about what's happening behind the scenes. You know, there are a lot of indications, obviously, that Savannah Guthrie and her family are sort of coordinating with law enforcement in terms of releasing this video. And I'll tell you something else I learned about that a little later in this episode that indicates that that is the case. So I'll get to that in a second. But first, I want to talk about what happened outside Nancy Guthrie's house, because this was really interesting. You know, I've been out here for days. Police took the crime scene tape down. They were gone. There was no one out here for a while, and then there was private security hired by the family just to keep an eye on the house. Well, then all of a sudden, yesterday, which would have been, get my days mixed up, yesterday would have been Wednesday, all of a sudden around like 4 o'clock or so local time, all of these sheriff's office pickup trucks and evidence units came down the road, really out of nowhere, went into the yard, and they set up a full crime scene at Nancy Guthrie's house yet again. And we're going in and out of the house. I want to show you, this is drone video. Shout out to my cameraman, Mo. He got his drone up very, very quickly, and we were able to see what was going on. And you can see they cordoned off the front of the house. They had the caution tape, the crime scene tape out very, very quickly. You could see the evidence trucks and the technicians that were out here with law enforcement. There was also a canine out here. They were searching around the house. We saw them out in the brush. There's a lot of cactus. It's rugged terrain here around Nancy Guthrie's house. And then perhaps what was, they were all over the house. And then what was most interesting is they really seemed to be focused in on the garage. And Mo was able to get this shot of the garage with his drone. They were going in and out of the garage. They had evidence bags that they were packing up. And again, the garage seemed to be sort of a focal point. And then really within 2 hours, they closed the garage. They took the crime scene tape down, and they were gone. I'm going to talk to my guest in a minute, retired FBI agent Steve Moore, about what may have been going on here. Like, why would they clear the crime scene days ago and then randomly show up and seem to do something very targeted, like a targeted search, because they were in and out so quickly. It was only 2 hours. So I'm going to ask Steve about that in a second. Something else interesting just 10 minutes away from here is where Nancy Guthrie's daughter, Annie, Savannah's sister, Annie Guthrie, lives. I was over there also today. And we saw FBI agents there yesterday. We saw other federal agents there today. And we were able to get video of them coming and going. And they had ICAC on their, that was like the acronym on their shirts, which is Internet Crimes Against Children, which, talking to some of my law enforcement sources, makes sense because that is a unit within the federal government that deals with kidnappings. They're very, very good at downloading data from phones. But what's interesting is when they went in, these federal agents with ICAC, I think they call them ICAC, they went in with a little tripod, I noticed, and a ring light, which now looking back makes sense in light of this Savannah Guthrie interview. They were likely assisting Savannah and her siblings in shooting this video, and would be highly specialized in what would need to go into a video like this to appeal to a possible kidnapper. Let me play you what Savannah said and her sister said in the video, and then after that, I will get to retired FBI agent Steve Moore. We can kind of break down everything.
Wow. This has been just a total crazy case, in my opinion. But that came on, and I wanted to listen to a little bit of that because I don't remember seeing this one. But this case is just crazy. But let's go and see um, if we have anything more. That was 22 minutes ago. Something. Hold on. What news station is that? I don't.
This all coming as a press conference has still not been announced from officials after a busy few days in the investigation. Where earlier this week, video and photo
Okay, they're
surveillance
talking
footage
about the
was shared to the
seized
public, and we also saw
Range
that
Rover.
white tent there that was put up and quickly taken down outside of the residence.
That's old. We'll watch this.
And a Fox News alert, we are monitoring a possible major breakthrough in the Nancy.
But we're presuming that it is because the same personnel were involved in that. So this is really, it's a very active investigation still ongoing here in Pima County.
So, Sergeant, do you have any indication of who these people might be that were detained? They're obviously in a house, I guess, a few miles away from the Guthrie house. I would imagine there are neighbors, people in the area who might know who these people are. Are you getting word of anything regarding the people that are the owners or the residents of this home?
This home was literally less than 2 miles, really a mile as the crow flies from the Guthrie home. It's in a very upscale area of Pima County, also in the Catalina foothills. We've heard a lot about that. But who these people are, other than 2 males and a female and potentially another male, that information is not being released. And we want to be very respectful. I know it's frustrating for everyone. Why haven't they had a press conference? Why aren't they releasing more information? The investigation is so active, and plus we have a family, the Guthrie family in Tucson, that is having to deal with this on that very guttural, familial level.
Sergeant, but to be clear, I wasn't suggesting that the investigators or the sheriff have, whether they have released information. I was just saying from the ground, like people that we are talking to, have any neighbors come forward to say, oh, I know the people who live there, or I've seen them before?
We really haven't had anybody yet come forward.
Got it.
Yeah, and so, Sergeant, you're so right about, we only know what we know. And in cases like this, every single time that we cover them, early reports and rumors often are false. So let's drill into just sort of what we've seen transpire overnight. Obviously, there are the two scenes, authorities telling us that when they went in and detained the 3 individuals at that home, that was tied to the Guthrie investigation. Now, we also had video of SWAT vehicles as part of the surge when they went initially into that. What does that tell you to see SWAT vehicles responding in that?
Well, and I was down at the sheriff's department, most of the night when these officers deployed. And one of the notable things was when SWAT was deploying, everyone else in the agency was being called in. So we saw multiple units deploying, not just for SWAT to go out, but also, this is a county of almost 2 million people. So they had to bring in additional personnel. We also saw some of our neighboring agencies, Marana, Oro Valley, Saurita, come in on a mutual aid aspect. But when SWAT goes out, and the bomb squad went out too, but then they came back. When SWAT goes out, it's because they feel that it's going to be a potentially very dangerous situation. And remember, we've got a suspect who was armed, and we have a potential hostage situation. So it was with the utmost caution that SWAT went out.
So with those 3 people that were detained, and I realize that we have very limited information right now, but we don't even know if those people actually live in that house, or do we?
We do not know that. We've got, names on, property tax names, things like that. But none of that has been released. And again, we don't know if they're suspects.
Right.
You know, when you go in and you serve this kind of search warrant and take people, you detain them, you've got to get them out of there and then sort everything out. And of course, we saw a swarm of FBI agents, of forensic vehicles, as when those people were removed, all that moved in.
All right, Sergeant Betsy Brantner-Smith, thank you for your insight. We'll check in with you throughout the day.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.
So late Friday night, authorities descended on a home less than 2 miles from the Nancy Gutherie home in Tucson, Arizona. 3 people are detained, we understand. They are being questioned in relation to the disappearance of Savannah Guthrie's mother. Joining us now live from the scene in Tucson, Arizona, Fox News correspondent Max Gordon. What's the latest, Max?
Hey there, John. Well, it's been a very active night here in the Tucson area for law enforcement. A lot of developments in the Nancy Gutherie case. Let's get you up to speed. So this all started for us. We first heard wind of this at around 8:30 p.m. local time. That's when we were getting some rumors that there's some law enforcement activity very close to Nancy Guthrie's house. We drove on over here. It was only about a 5-minute drive, about 2 miles driving, and that's where we saw a very heavy law enforcement presence. That's where we later learned 3 people were detained, 2 males, and then 1 woman who is the mother of one of those 2 males, detained at a house in this neighborhood. This is a very upscale neighborhood. A lot of these homes listed on Zillow for more than $1 million. And since we've been here, over the past couple of hours, we've seen a lot of vehicles, law enforcement vehicles, going through this barricade you can see behind me, 2 SWAT team vehicles leaving the scene, and then several unmarked vehicles, potentially FBI vehicles, going on in, a whole convoy of them, really, as investigators comb through a house, we believe, in this neighborhood. It's unclear at this point if those 3 individuals that were detained lived in that home. It's also unclear if these individuals that were detained are actually suspects. Now, there is a second scene of interest. It's unclear if this second scene of interest is tied to the Nancy Gutherie case, but law enforcement, local law enforcement, as well as FBI agents have been on the scene of this second scene where a car was stopped in a Culver's fast food parking lot. Evidence tape was wrapped in evidence tape. 1 individual was detained in that instance. And this Range Rover, the silver or gray Range Rover, had its license plates covered, and it was then put on a flatbed and towed out of that parking lot. This is all based off of what our photographer on the ground was seeing. So a second scene of interest. Again, unclear if that second scene is tied to the Nancy Gutherie investigation. This scene behind us here, this home here in this neighborhood in the Catalina foothills, it has been confirmed tied to the Nancy Gutherie investigation. So in total, we've had 4 individuals detained this evening. Again, unclear if any of these individuals are suspects in this case. Law enforcement has released very few details. Earlier in the evening, it appeared that the Pima County Sheriff's Department was going to release a statement to us. And then several hours later, they said that essentially, they just had a law enforcement investigation, operations going on, and that the FBI had asked them to not release further details. So still a lot of questions about what exactly has transpired this evening, how all this relates to the Nancy Gutherie case. Again, everyone just hoping that Nancy Gutherie is still alive, but at this hour, many, many questions remain. Back to you.
All right. Thanks very much. Max Gordon reporting live there from Tucson. Let's turn now to Fox News contributor Ted Williams. He's a former D.C. homicide detective, also a defense attorney, joining us on the phone now. Ted, we just heard from Max that they are not saying there in Tucson whether this Range Rover that was seized from the Culver's parking lot is related to the Nancy Gutherie investigation. However, everybody who was there, or a good number of the people who were there, are wearing FBI jackets. I can't imagine that the FBI is looking into too many other crimes in the Tucson area right now. It would seem that Range Rover may have something to do with the Guthrie case.
Absolutely. I have to believe that this case of Nancy Guthrie going missing is the #1 priority on all law enforcement out there. I've heard, and you heard our last commentary about the questions. What are the questions that I have for this investigation? I'd like to just share that with you if I could.
Please.
I'm hoping, first of all, that there's a press conference tomorrow and that they will clear up a great deal of information that the public should be given. For instance, this investigation, one of the things we don't know, John, is really what was the motive. We know that an 84-year-old woman that has medical illnesses was taken from her home. We don't know really if it was for a ransom, meaning that someone was asking for money. We know that 2 alleged notes, one sent to KOLD, a television station, and one sent also to TMZ. These 2 notes were asking for money, but we don't know the authenticity of those notes. This is information that has not been shared with us. We don't know if any ransom has been paid to anyone. These are very much question marks. John, you and I have been around a while. Normally, when someone breaks into a home, they break in for several different reasons: to commit a burglary, perhaps a robbery, or a kidnapping. If it is, in fact, a kidnapping, normally within a reasonable period of time, the kidnappers will communicate with the family or law enforcement where they are going and what they want. None of that has occurred, as we know, from the public standpoint. I think that the law enforcement there are asking for the public's help. They need to share as much information as they possibly can. Now, granted, they can't share everything, and we don't want to know everything. But was there a kidnapping for money, or is something else going on here that we are not cognizant of?
Yeah, and it's been said from the get-go that because those ransom demands came in, quite a few hours and I think even days after Nancy disappeared, that it's quite possible it was just some opportunist who thought maybe he could make some quick Bitcoin by putting in ransom demands, and might have absolutely nothing to do with her actual disappearance. Interesting, we were just watching the video of the silver Range Rover that has been taken away on a flatbed by sheriff's officers and the FBI. They were holding up a blocking tarp, if you will, so that, the curious, the reporters who were standing there couldn't see what it is in the back of that Range Rover that they were photographing. What's the reason for that, Ted? Why keep that why go to that extent just to block the media view of what's in the back of that car?
Well, it may very well be that the perpetrator or perpetrators that are involved in the kidnapping of Nancy here, there may be something in that vehicle that they don't want even those individuals to know. I often believe, John, that when we are on television like this talking about these kinds of incidents, that in many of these cases that the perpetrator or perpetrators are actually watching us to see what they can glean from what is going on. And that may very well be why they are blocking out and screening out as much as they possibly can right now, meaning law enforcement there on the scene with that vehicle.
Ted Williams, Fox News consultant, former D.C. police detective, homicide detective, now a defense attorney as well. Ted, thank you.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kiley.
Damn, damn, damn. It's sad that an 84-year-old woman is missing.
And Fox News alert.
It's crazy that she hasn't been found. I mean, it just, I don't know. Just doesn't make sense to me. Let's see if I can. Let's see. I don't know. I don't see anything new, so it just doesn't make any sense to me. I don't understand why somebody would want to take somebody else. But if anything else develops, you know, we'll come in and hang out for a little bit. But I'm gonna get up and get busy. I got some things I have to do, and we'll be back later. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. And happy Valentine's Day. Bye, guys.